What if I told you there was a house where a locked door opens by itself every single night at exactly 12 a.m., and everyone who walks through it disappears forever? Welcome to another explainer. Today, we're unlocking a chilling piece of modern folklore, the door that opened every midnight. This story is based on a deeply mysterious urban legend that has completely captured the internet's imagination. Whether it's totally true or just a myth, well, you decide. Okay, let's dive into this. So, what if a locked door really opened by itself at exactly 12 a.m., and everyone who walked through it vanished forever? That is the core, terrifying premise we are exploring today. The material actually challenges us right from the get-go. It presents this whole narrative not just as your standard ghost story, but as a test. It literally asks you to step up and decide for yourself. Is this a documented historical truth, or is it just a fabricated myth designed to keep us awake at night? Ultimately, that's completely up to you. To really understand how this legend works, we have to look at the setting established in Chapter 1 of our source. In a quiet, unassuming village stood an old mansion that had been completely abandoned for over 70 years. 70 years is a long time. Now, the source notes a very specific detail about the locals. They strictly avoided this property. And they didn't just avoid it because it was, old or falling apart. They avoided it because of the strange, unexplainable whispers that they claimed echoed from inside the house, but only after midnight. It establishes this really hard boundary that the locals just knew never to cross. But of course, every good legend needs a catalyst, right? Someone willing to actually cross that boundary. Enter our protagonist, Adam. He's a young, deeply skeptical photographer. According to the text, he manages to buy this massive, abandoned house for a surprisingly low price, which, as anyone who has ever seen a horror movie knows, is our absolute first major red flag. But Adam, he just laughs at the local warnings and ghost stories. Being a photographer, he sees a golden opportunity. So he decides to spend his very first night in the empty house, completely alone, armed with nothing but his camera. For the first few hours, Adam's time in the house was entirely normal. Nothing happened at all. He was probably feeling pretty vindicated in his skepticism, thinking, see, nothing to worry about. But then, the tone of the narrative violently shifts. Everything changed the exact moment the clock struck 12 a.m. The very first thing that happens is a sound. A loud, distinct click, echoing all the way down the empty hallway. The text describes Adam turning his attention toward a specific wooden door. Now, this is an absolutely crucial detail. Adam had actually tried to open this exact door earlier in the day, but it had been stubbornly locked all day long. But now, in the dead of night, after that loud click, it was slowly opening, entirely by itself. When we think of a hidden room opening at midnight in a haunted house, we kind of expect something visually horrifying, right? But the source gives us something much more subtly unsettling. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how incredibly mundane it all is. Inside, the room is totally empty except for three things: an old chair, a broken mirror, and a dusty diary. The text doesn't rely on immediate gore. Instead, it uses the quiet abandonment of these specific objects, just waiting in the dark to build a deep psychological dread. Adam's attention is immediately drawn to that dusty diary, but the exact moment he picks it up, a whisper comes from directly behind him. Don't read the last page. Imagine hearing that right next to your ear in an empty house. The text says Adam spun around instantly to confront whoever was there. But the room was completely empty. There was absolutely no one there. Well, human curiosity is a dangerous thing, and Adam, completely ignoring that spectral warning, frantically begins to read. Let's compare what he found. The previous pages of the diary belonged to a man who had lived in the mansion decades earlier. Every single entry was a historical log of terrifying events, describing strange footsteps, whispers, and shifting shadows plaguing the house. But then we get to the final page. Just as the whisper warned, it was different. It was violently torn, leaving only a single sentence perfectly intact. The only words left on the page were, "If you are reading this, I'm already standing behind you." The text notes that upon reading this terrifying final sentence, Adam completely froze. It's the ultimate realization of dread, isn't it? It's the exact moment the historical haunting logged in the diary merges instantly with his present reality. Before Adam can even react to the diary, his environment reacts for him. Suddenly, a bright burst of light illuminates the dark room. His camera, the one piece of modern technology he brought with him, flashed completely on its own. It's a classic trope of autonomous technology malfunctioning around the paranormal. Adam looks down at the photograph that was just taken, and what he sees is chilling. The image confirms that he was alone in the room, except for a tall, dark figure standing merely inches behind him. At this point, the suspense erupts into pure, unfiltered panic. Adam makes a desperate escape attempt, and his senses are systematically stripped away from him. First, he sprints to the front door, but it's locked. He's trapped. Next, the lights completely die, plunging him into absolute pitch-black darkness. And finally, in that darkness, a sound begins. Heavy, methodical footsteps echoing through the empty house, signaling that whatever was in the room with him is now hunting him. Let's move to and see how this builds. The pacing in the narrative becomes incredibly deliberate here, mapping out the approach rhythmically. 1, 2, 3, closer, closer, closer. Adam manages to scramble beneath a staircase, hiding in the dark, barely daring to breathe as he listens to the sheer weight of those steps coming toward his location. The tension is mapped out step by step, forcing us to wait right alongside him in the dark. Then, the footsteps stop. There is total, suffocating silence. This is the absolute peak of the narrative tension. Adam is hiding, holding his breath, desperately hoping he's been bypassed. And then, the source describes a hand, slowly reaching around the corner, right into his hiding spot. It's the final breaking point. The text states that Adam let out a blood-curdling scream, and immediately following that, everything went completely black. Chapter 4 of our source material acts as the chilling aftermath. The next morning, the police finally arrive at the mansion. Why? Because the neighbors, the same locals who completely avoided the house, had reported hearing terrifying screams in the middle of the night. But when the authorities search the property, look at what they find, or rather, look at what they don't find. The house is entirely empty. There is no Adam, there is no camera, there isn't even the dusty diary. All traces of the events of the previous night have simply been erased. They found exactly one thing: a single discarded photograph lying on the floor. And this brilliantly illustrates the horror of the situation. It showed the empty hallway of the house, but there, standing right in the doorway of the hidden room, was someone looking directly at the camera, smiling. It's an incredibly haunting visual to leave the reader with, perfectly sealing the mystery of what really happened in that dark hallway. So the crucial point is, the investigation was abruptly closed, and Adam was never found. He was just gone. But the lore, it didn't stop there. Some say the original mansion was demolished years ago, but others, and this is where the legend really gets under your skin, claim that the mysterious locked wooden door still appears, manifesting inside entirely different houses to this very day. The source material leaves us with a direct, unsettling warning. If a mysterious locked door that you've never been able to open suddenly clicks and slowly swings wide at exactly midnight in your house, will you step inside? The legend warns against it, because if you do, the next missing person leaving behind nothing but a photograph could be you. If you enjoyed this mystery, subscribe to The Mystery Teller for more chilling stories every week. Sleep carefully, and I'll see you in the next mystery.